2023 predictions. Today we got the Michigan Wolverines. Michigan starts off with three non-con games. One of them against East Carolina Pirates. The second one's going to be against the UNLV Rebels. And the third one being against the Bowling Green Falcons. I think all three of those non-cons you can give Michigan the victory. There's just nothing really about Michigan's non-con schedule that jumps out to me and says they will beat Michigan. So I think you, through the first three games, easily go 3-0. Then you start your Big Ten conference schedule and you remain in your Big Ten conference schedule for the rest of the season. Starting off with the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Rutgers, they just never really got any momentum ever since they got into the Big Ten. I think you can easily beat Rutgers, and I think you will easily beat the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Then you get the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Now, Nebraska will be in its first year under Matt Rhule. Matt Rhule had a successful stint with the Baylor Bears and is coming off of a stint in the NFL. Now, granted, he didn't do well in the NFL, but coaching in the NFL and coaching in college football are two different things. I think given his past success with having coached Baylor in the past, I think he will have success with Nebraska. Question is, how much success with Nebraska will he have in his first year? I don't think he'll be able to win necessarily the Big Ten. Maybe not even the Big Ten West. I do think Nebraska could get up like around 8 to 9 wins, possibly. However, I do not think they're beating Michigan. I think Michigan takes care of them easily. There's just way too much talent on this Michigan team to lose to a rebuilding Nebraska team. Then you get the Minnesota Golden Gophers, and Minnesota, I don't think they're going to make too much headway this year. They did well a few years ago, but they just fallen off quite a bit from what they were just a few years ago when people thought they were the next contender in the Big Ten. I think Michigan takes care easily of Minnesota. Then you get Indiana, and Indiana, another one of those teams in the Big Ten that just never got any headway ever since they started in there. Sorry if you hear some meowing. There's some kittens in here that are meowing. But I think, not Ohio State. Michigan is easily going to take care of Indiana. Then you get one of your in-state rival, Michigan State Spartans. The Spartans had a down year that really cannot be explained in a sense. Michigan State does have these, like every 3 or 4 years, they'll have this random down year that seems like it came out of nowhere. A lot of people were high on Michigan State last year. But these years really don't happen often with Michigan State. I think they at least get back into bowl eligible territory this year. Now, can they contend for the Big Ten East? A lot of people last year thought they would contend for the Big Ten East. I don't think they're contending for the Big Ten East just yet. And I don't think they're beating Michigan. I think Michigan's going to be able to take care of Michigan State. And this brings you let me get my computer. This brings you to your bye week on October 28th. And then right after your bye week is probably the toughest stretch in the season. It is the toughest stretch in the season, starting with last year's Big Ten West champion, the Purdue Boilermakers. Purdue took advantage of a really down Big Ten West. The Big Ten West, for years, has been one of the weaker divisions in the Power 5, but particularly last year, they were the weakest Power 5 division in what still remains of divisions. I think, if I remember correctly, Big Ten is getting rid of divisions starting in 2024, and it's just going to do like the rest of the Power 5, where they'll just let the two best teams get to the championship. Purdue surprised a lot of people by winning the Big Ten West this year, but I'm not necessarily high on Purdue to win the West this year. I think Wisconsin is going to be back to what they normally are like. I think Nebraska has the potential to get to 8 or 9 wins now that they have Matt Rule. I don't think Purdue is going to beat Michigan. I think Michigan is easily going to take care of Purdue here. Then you get one of the two most challenging games on the schedule. It is against Penn State on the road. Penn State, this seems like it would be a make or break year for Penn State. Penn State has had successful seasons, most of them 10-win seasons, but they have yet to break out and establish themselves as the Big Ten champion. They always seem to be in the shadow of Michigan and Ohio State. I think if you want to, this is a make or break year. If you don't want to be regarded as permanently being in Michigan and Ohio State's shadow, you have to beat one of those two teams. I already made an Ohio State prediction video where I said Penn State is probably going to lose to Ohio State. I also think Michigan beats Ohio State. Michigan beats Penn State. I don't think Penn State has the talent to do this, and especially considering Michigan has the most returning talent in the entire Power 5. I don't trust Penn State to be able to beat them. Then you get to Maryland. Now, Maryland themselves is not a tough opponent per se for Michigan, but considering where it is on the schedule, it could be a trap game because it's right in between the two biggest games of the year against Penn State and then the finale against Ohio State. I think, though, you're just way too much talented to even struggle with Maryland. I think you're easily going to take care of Maryland. That brings us to the last week of the season against Ohio State. You are on currently a 2-game winning streak against Ohio State, and you get this game at home. I think Michigan is much more talented than Ohio State. And also, another thing, too, to take note of is that Ohio State does not have a starting quarterback returning with experience because C.J. Stroud went to the NFL. Now, Ohio State is still incredibly talented. And I also think Ohio State may be the hungrier team here to break back out of the shadow. However, I think Michigan's going to get the win. I think Michigan is just not loads more talented, but they are more talented. And given that the game's at home, I think this will bring it over the line for Michigan to get the win. Could Ohio State win? Yeah, but I'm predicting Michigan. There you have it. Michigan most likely will go 12-0 in the regular season. There's only 2 teams I'm predicting, so far, to go 12-0. I already predicted Georgia to go 12-0, and I'm also predicting Michigan to go 12-0. Michigan, there's no question in me they're going to win the Big Ten. Question is, however, there's 2 questions. First off, can a one-loss Michigan team get in the playoff? Let's say Michigan loses to Ohio State. Michigan has one of the worst non-con schedules I've seen of a Power 5 team this year. I think Michigan would have to go 12-0. Maybe not necessarily have to win the Big Ten, but we'll have to go 12-0 in the regular season to get a playoff spot, whereas I think Ohio State, if they only had one loss, could potentially get in depending on what happens in the SEC. And secondly, does Michigan finally win a playoff game if they get there? Michigan made the playoffs for the first time in 2021. They have lost both playoff games they've been in. If we're going to take Michigan seriously as a national championship threat, I think they have to win at least one playoff game this year. Otherwise, you can just write them off as a team that'll lose every time they make it to the playoff. Anyway, that was a Michigan prediction video. I'm gonna go for the next one. I'm gonna go ahead and head back to the SEC and do a South Carolina prediction video. Anyway, until the next video, this is Roll Tide 99. I'm out of here. I'll see y'all later.